can judge that as another doctor. Usually they don't have a lot of patients in their private practice if they're a bit grumpy, or if they don't answer their phone immediately, or if they don't have a smile on their face when they treat patients, because maybe they don't sleep enough for a lot of months due to the night shifts, and maybe their personal life is shit. So when somebody goes to the doctor, they pay for the medical advice, but some people prefer some doctors mostly because they answer the phone all the time. At least here in Greece, I don't know how the things are in US. I heard about the insurance companies, it's a nightmare. But here in Greece, it's like this. The best doctors are those that they throw in the package a lot more things that they don't put in the price exactly. So there are some doctors that they get paid by the visit. They're a bit grumpy and they're very good in their work. So if you call them, you pay. If you call them, you pay. There are some other doctors that are not so good, and maybe they have done a lot of medical mistakes, but the people won't know it, of course, that are all the time available. Sometimes they don't charge you, and they make a hell of a lot of money, more than the other doctors that are getting paid by the visit, because they throw in something that people think is beyond payment, their 24/7 availability. I'm not saying that this is a good practice. I personally hate it, so maybe I'll never be a very good private practice doctor. But by using something that they don't get paid immediately for doing so, people think that they have a beyond price service, the 24-hour availability and the love of the doctor, or at least what it seems like the love of the doctor. So people respond to this, and they respond both as workers and they respond both as customers. So this is another point of view apart from the cocaine mice experiment and the situation that we find ourselves in here, that some things uh, should not be totally computed, counted, and incentivized, or at least not in the way that we did. So to get back to your funny random username, another thing I'm saying is that we have maybe a lot of types to categorize things to airdrop to. So maybe if we had like fewer things to vote for airdrops, or maybe fewer categories, and then subdivide them in other votes. So does this make any sense?
Are you saying like the subjective categories could have been like one general category of, and that later people would vote how that all these categories could actually be rewarded on a different vote? Is that what you mean?
I mean that there should be that we have the jobs in the channel about doing specific jobs and get rewarded in tokens. This is a very good system. It should work like if someone makes a finance analysis, if someone makes a marketing analysis, and they should be rewarded as they take the job and go. And then the other categories that should be rewarded by airdrops should be possibly the voters, the market voters, the citizens, and that's it. I don't know exactly if the synchronizers should be totally rewarded. Although I like being in the meetings here, I just sometimes it might a drag. Okay, I have to go because I have to go get the airdrop. Probably not participating with my true self. Maybe come here, speak some soft words to everyone that, oh, we're doing great, we're super. That will also result me in getting more airdrops and never come into conflict with anyone, nothing remotely fruitful as a conversation. Yeah, pretty much less categories to vote on, probably more strictly on chain, and probably something in structured as a work get paid per task for the rest of the things with the address.
How does this sound to you, Amanda? Because you're a good kind of person to ask because you put in all this work. If your reward was coming in more from like a task board point of view instead of an airdrop, how does that make you feel?
It feels so I guess if we're looking at it, one point first, just to I understand what you're talking about, Damien, with the doctor, the Happy Meal package, right? You pay, let's say, twice a year, you pay $50 to see the doctor, but then maybe you've seen that doctor 4 times a year in Greece because it's a good doctor and he actually cares, and that's excellent. And if we're looking at that traditional Web 2, let's just call Web 2, Web 3, just to make it the easiest, and Web 2 being the tools that we are now able to maybe build and use to fluidly make these spaces. I know that there may be a chance of bad actors or people that don't come in and fluff and don't actually do work, but I think it's almost I'm trying to think. I can't think of what the word is because I'm thinking too much. But it's like the current. It's counterproductive for me. It really would be because I participate wholly, and I know not everyone will with their own voice and their own name, but the task is almost like an obstruction for me at this point, which is okay. I don't need to be rewarded every single day, every week, every month. But if the only way for me to show value in FVT was task based, then I would look like a participant that didn't give a shit, if you excuse my language, because I am actively trying to do the tasks and learn them and figure them out, but also that's a balance, right? So the influence piece is the kind of beauty of that to me, these votes that we've already decided on worker tester for this round, let's say. It's very granular, but I like that because I see a lot of power in the future of this granular type of participation and granular type of adding on to the greater source. I see a lot of that power for stay-at-home parents. I really do. So if like we said, cracking it, I understand there's a very big chance of exploitation by people that aren't altruistic, but there will always be that chance where this could be something potentially that, if developed, could we could have the best of both. Some are tasks, some are strictly more agile based on the wills of us citizens. So that's how I'm not against, oh, we shouldn't be, I'm not for or against, let's give people more, let's give people less. I see the value all around.
So if we're not going to be worried about verifying if people are doing stuff, would it bother you that you have all these other people that are also being rewarded, but are just not in the same level of contribution? Wouldn't it be better for us to figure out how do we reward those that are really committed rather than have a one size fit all where the really committed are sharing and getting a same reward?
I say to that, and it's not an argument, it's fun to discuss this. I say to that, in the other community I used as an example earlier, there is no reward. And that's okay. Again, always okay. But there's no reward for contribution. There's no reward for it goes the reward in the other community is what Damien was just being a good doctor. People know that your name, you're a good doctor, you're a practitioner of the community. But here, if we're working towards this, it's future. Right now, maybe we can't verify that all these people did what they said they did, but that's on them. I guess I'm focused on my own lane too, is that at the end of the day, if I receive anything from FVT and as a collective, we've said that out of these 51 voters, we've collected and said that I deserve some of this, then that is on me and my own soul to feel that and know that I've earned it. I don't as much, I know that money's stressful and important, but I don't as much focus on what Matt did or what Gus did or Robin because I don't know what you do every single day. But I hope that together we can figure out a way to, I don't want to say reward because not everything's reward, but lift up the actions of all the participants together. That's really part of the beauty I see with FET and the tools and where we're moving as a culture. For it's not all about reward, but if we can crack the way to engage altruistically and wholesomely, then that really is excellent. Yeah, I'm not as too concerned on if you make more than me because I'm in America, corporate America. It's a huge hush about talking about money too. So every single day I'm working with 70,000 people, and I'm sure many of them make a lot more than me. And another example, my amazing wife I tell you about, I know I'm talking about, I happen to make more than her at this time, but I'm telling you, she works 10 times harder than me at this company. She is a hard worker. So it's not always going to be fair to compensation. Sums it up.
Yeah, no, that was really interesting conversation. I'm not going to say anything immediately. I just think I'll poison the water. What do you think, Gus, Demian? What you said?
Is it just a long silence, or is my phone not working?
Hey, sorry, I think I didn't press the push to talk button. So I just said I felt a really interesting conversation between you three. I've just been listening, and I'm going to continue to do that. I'm not going to say anything immediately. I think my opinions will just poison them. So I think it's best if you guys just continue to have this conversation. Really, we can wrap it up shortly as well. But if there's any sort of closing remarks, it's kind of like a bit of a debate, which has been great, like organically evolved thing. Yeah, if anybody has any closing remarks on what they think, I think now's a good time to do that.
In the teams that I worked and managed, I try to, when it's team efforts, to reward collectively. And if the reward is a compliment or if it's actually money, it's like when it's a team effort, you deal with the team. So if we look at this from a perspective of the community in general, then an airdrop makes sense that you're giving back from a collective point of view. And in that case, you're not as worried with the individual if someone did as much or as less, because as a team, this is the result we got and we're happy with it and we're giving back. But on the individual level, I would always take people to the side or on their one-to-one and give them that feedback or an extra reward. That's on the individual level. And when I hear Amanda talk, this is the kind of people that I want to see more of in the future. People that have a service to others mentality and are happy to be part of things and want and put in the energy. And I think that I know that the world is not fair, but I would like to strive to have a system that can reward individually people that have that extra level of commitment. So this is a bit beyond just the airdrop, but I think if we separate these two topics, it'll be easier to maybe reach a consensus on the airdrop. If we say, okay, the airdrop is just this collective, as a team, we've reached a milestone and we're giving back. And then look at the individual cases individually, but make sure that they are rewarded.
Cool. Thanks, Gus.
Nice. So for me, to wrap up my thinking, I'm pro towards the airdrop, especially for citizens. I think we pretty much are all citizens here. I don't know. I think Amanda, you're a citizen. We could, the answer would be okay. Maybe some people would like to be rewarded for their efforts more than just being a citizen. I don't know. It all goes down to a personal level, and we're a very small sample. There are people like Amanda being rewarded for their effort and their commitment. I'm personally, I'm, I okay. Maybe either the task thing. I would choose tasks that I'm interested in. Don't know. I'm a bit against the too much reward system. Probably. I think I stand by my opinion that trying to incentivize everything and create possible positive feedback loops. I think it's from many ways it's not a very fruitful mechanism for building something of value. I think the missing part to capture and crack this value producing mechanism is probably less token rewards. Yep.
I think I hear and understand, like you said, the maybe not getting rewarded and not getting token rewarded specifically for this type of thing. And I do respect that too. And like I said, I don't think everyone needs to be rewarded for everything and to some degree, but wrap up with if we're talking about the future of work today. So at this moment, we have 274 an influencer vote. We have 51 citizens voted, and they get the reward of being a citizen and potentially get the reward of working as a citizen with the categories that we defined as a DAO or that were defined and we voted on. So I guess what I see maybe the non-solution being is that we potentially we voted, so we'll vote again, but we work through this type of distribution and almost follow down these rabbit holes and see, is there a way to make an influence contribution a little more wholesome, a little more verified, right? Does that go back to roles? Is there an opportunity that it's meeting in the middle too? So let's say I told you that tasks are not my specialty, but if we find a way that, okay, an influence, it's not specifically I should get rewarded every time I tweet about FET, but if we're semi doing like let's say a micro reward for amplifying the voice of FET or amplifying the voice of Dr. Nick or something, or anyone that we are amplifying together because we believe in it, again, not because, then I think that type of microtransactions could be fruitful. I think for this vote, we have influence, and maybe next airdrop, next whatever reward season we have or whatever it may be, then we maybe do separate those two and have like more of a weighted of on-chain rewards that are specific to citizen, and then influence. I don't know, we could give them Shiba coin or something, but just I do think it's important to crack because it's not just us. And if we are partially saying we are the financial tools of the future, then it's important for us to follow this rabbit hole of a financial tool, whether we choose to use it in FVT or not. Because just because we may not want to continue to reward people for this engagement as a DAO, we do or do not, we're not sure. It could change fluidly because we can vote on it. Doesn't mean that we should not research it and test it and do what we do with things. This brilliant group of individuals that I like to show up and hang out with at 6 a.m. That's how you know that you like someone, when you show up at 6 a.m. and you talk to them. And so how do we, I think, together build a way to make that closer to that model you said, that the doctor's good. But right now, we don't know who the good doctors are. We need to begin to build and point out who the good doctors are, because that's part of that process.
Sorry, jumping in, I was pointing out that the doctors preferred by patients are usually not the good doctors, and they usually put price in using the same price and availability and friendliness that cannot exactly be priced in. For example, a doctor's visit here in Greece costs like 30 euros. So it's like $35 or $32 now with inflation. So you pay $35 to have a, for example, pulmonary checkup, and you go to Dr. A, who examines you in 10 minutes and says, you're okay, now go. And you go to the other doctor that sits with you for 20 minutes, asks about your family, asks about how your mother died, etc., with a smile, so sympathy. Probably he doesn't know what the difference between asthma and COPD, but you like him because he asks a lot of questions, he shows sympathy, and etc., etc., etc. But he's not a good doctor. So that the thing that I was trying to say is Dr. A has priced in like his total number of years of study, etc., etc., and offers a service that waits to be paid. And doctor is probably a social creature and a little bit of a sociopath, Machiavellian personality, but he gets the same amount of money and a lot more patients because he sells in a way something that cannot be sold. That was what I was trying to say. I was trying to say that the doctors that were trying to price in everything in terms of academic and competence in their field are not usually the doctors preferred by the patients. It's mostly the good marketing ones that are getting preferred.
There's some degree of that in the United States as well, in the healthcare system, I know and all, but here, my doctor is very much determined by my insurance. So I see what you're saying in Greece has a choice to some degree, and it's choice on the people get to choose where they spend their money. And that's what these tools I see are for too. And I understand that not priceable, because like you said too, a part of my soul, my name is priceless. When I put my name on something, and like we've said, not everyone does that, not everyone, but I think that's also part of the beauty of these tools that are developing, and that like doxing, right? There's companies now that they are brands and stuff that maybe that's a rabbit hole we're not going to go down. But I hear you on that. The doctors.
You're an exception. I don't want to make this sweet to you, but you're awesome. You're a very good participant, and I really believe you that you put your soul. I just try to point out that you're like
You're so kind.
0.1%. No,
You're so
I think
good.
everybody
Yes.
agrees. I think
Thank
everybody
you.
can agree with this. It's not about this. I'm really concerned about the rest of humanity, not about how you should be rewarded. I think that the 90.9% will not function by the same mentality. If they did, it would be a different world, probably.
It would be. It definitely would be. And I appreciate it. And I am a citizen, thankfully. One of the amazing citizens gave me an ID because you participate a lot. You should be here. And I said, thank you, that I appreciate it.
I think
my
that this
point,
should be, I think that this could be a good mechanism that people would participate and they could be rewarded an ID and the rest of the airdrops would function through an ID, hopefully. That would be a cool thing to have. And then we could vote, not ourselves, but vote members of the community that we love and we think that should be rewarded. And we could vote about between us as citizens. For example, I would vote for you to get the Twitter airdrop. Okay, I don't think I deserve it personally. I would be happier if you got it. So what
okay.
I was trying to say is maybe airdrop and then possibly vote for some specific IDs to get an extra airdrop instead of one solution fits all airdrop.
So I see a solution. I see a and I don't know how that affects this vote because I don't know if this is like we are making the corporate world gets me in are we making the decision on this today? Do we need these vote counts in the next couple? But a solution for what I hear and what we're talking about, I think, is almost and we vote on this as a citizen society. The airdrop of a citizen, and we decide on that's the highest type of weight that we all get that, and then the other degree of that, the other side, that two part is like the influence, the worker paying them almost in a contract type form, because then that does come back to task. And I do want to add on task. I'm happy to do tasks. I just you see I'm all over the place and I'm scattered. I'm running, so I haven't put in the time to do them yet. But if that is how I need to work for this place, then I'm willing to learn it, and especially if it's a way that can get that other 99% of society for us to gauge them accurately from the outset. So maybe we have those two pieces of citizen, almost like the dropout DAO that Dr. Nick's talking about, that stipend, but I'm not asking for a stipend, but like a citizen wage, on-chain wage, or however those go, and then separately a contract type agreement that we decide on.
There could be a third type that could be a vote between citizens about outstanding citizens that get airdropped a portion of the original citizen airdrop. Let's say the citizens get the airdrop and then they get to decide the top 10 outstanding citizens or a couple of outstanding citizens in some categories. So we could use quadratic voting and still have a stratification of this airdrop. So it's not going to be one citizen gets all the airdrop. If everybody voted for themselves, then nobody would vote for anyone else. So by definition, one would get more votes for really being an outstanding citizen.
So just going back to your original point about incentives are dangerous. Here we have a small community of good-hearted people with good intentions and people that already think a bit differently. In my experience, when you increase the population enough, the incentives end up, instead of creating a positive morale,
there's gonna be a Stalin. There's gonna be a Stalin after the Lenin.
The thing is that when if you make the group big enough, you're going to start having the people that will think it's unfair for this and that. And it creates massive drama. So I've seen a lot of the big initiatives in the multinational companies I've worked at that on paper, it sounded like it was going to be really motivating. But the end result was less productivity because people are caught up in drama, and less motivation because people always find a way to see how the system is rigged or how this person's, of course, this is a person who's going to get rewarded.
I agree. I have seen this too in hospitals as well.
I think that when we talk about future of work, I look at Dan Price and Gravity Payments. The guy, let's make sure everyone gets a salary that they can live comfortably. And in my experience, when I worked for Riot Games, that was very generous with salaries. So once you remove, can I pay my rent? Can I afford dinner? Like these basic financial questions that hound a lot of the population in the world, then people all of a sudden they're free to really go deep into their passions and they produce amazing work. So if we really talk about future work, for me, the question is, how can the DAOs enable this, where you remove the money problem from the equation, and people are just free to work out of their passions. And it's like you said earlier, Amanda, you're not doing any of the work because you're thinking of the reward for it. You're doing it because you believe in it. And I think that the future of work, as more structures come in place that start to alleviate, how do I pay my rent, how do I get a birthday present, how do I, all this money questions, I think that we'll find out actually that more and more people are in this mindset. They're just trapped right now in this rat race of, I need to get money for the end of the month. So how do we build the systems to thinking in this future? And I think collective rewards is always the best. And even then, people will feel that I worked so much more than him. And in a way, those people are probably not in that you really want for the team or the project. So I think it's not a simple question. Yeah, that's the thought.
Hey guys, sorry I'm late. Gus, sorry, I just wanted to ask Gus on that last thing he said. Is he familiar with UBI, Universal Basic Income, mate?
I've heard of it. Yeah.
So I think, like I say, the natural course of evolution here is to just do this distribution as it is. We'll have the binary vote next week. We'll have a number of conversations in the DAO over the next month or so about how this can work going forward. What we capture, what we don't capture, what we do reward, what we don't reward. The incentive structure is really important. I think we built this as the first iteration, and I've got no doubt that iteration number 10 is going to be very different from this. So nothing's set in stone, and maybe this is an interesting topic for the debate club, potentially. I think this could be a really interesting conversation to be had in that format. And maybe, I know Demian was thinking about doing it written. I do think this goes better as a conversation with the nature of what we're talking about, because the thoughts are evolving. And then we can do other versions of the debate club written, but I think where it's such a live topic within the DAO, and it doesn't have to be emotive. None of you guys have tried to be emotive today. It doesn't have to be. We can make sure if we manage the debate correctly, which will probably be my job, we can have a non-emotive conversation, which I think is what's needed. So I thought that's a really interesting conversation. I think you guys represented the different perspectives really well, and you had that in a really cordial manner. And this is what we want. This is what we need. And yeah, thanks for taking part in that. That was unexpected turn of events in terms of this conversation. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, thank you for the discussion, both Damian and Patrick. I appreciate it, and I appreciate you not taking my emotions as a motive, because it's not emotions, but I appreciate that it came off correctly. So thank you for leading, directing the conversation, everyone. It was awesome.
Yeah, no one was ad hominem. There was none of that. It was, and yeah, I think having passion and talking about something is very different from compared. When you have a conversation with someone's like, oh, if you don't wear a mask, then you're a murderer. That's emotive, and yeah, people do that a lot. Yeah. In the current world that we live in.
I felt it was very safe, and
yeah,
to put a different point of view, and
yeah,
and I think everyone was trying to word things to the best of our abilities to
try to understand each other. I think, which I think is really good. Awesome. So I think more of this is really important, and we're learning, and we're all just trying to make the best of the current situation and build this thing together. So cool. Let's figure out how to do that then. We've got the community call in an hour and a half. I don't know if you guys are going to be around for that or not, but I don't think we'll continue this conversation necessarily, because I think it needs its own space, and I think the community calls are it's a different vibe. But we can definitely think about how to have that next conversation as a debate. I think would be really good. Yeah, what do you guys think of that?
That sounds great, man. And yeah, I'm gonna be in the community call for sure.
No community call for me today. I have training for a
Work.
couple hours. So yeah, I have to
IRL.
sit in front of the I'm on video too, so I just have to sit in this video and not be hyper and not distracted. I look forward to talking about this more. I already have ideas like popping out of my head on the future of work, like how we could even just specifically the influencer, how we could potentially start to govern that reward stewardship, right? Because it's a steward. I will start writing down my ideas while I'm staring
Do.
and pretending to be learning.
Awesome. And if anybody isn't aware, the Imagine DAOs competition is closing in about an hour or something like that, or maybe, I don't know, sooner than that probably. So if you've got an entry that you haven't put in, or you want to put an idea down, get it done. And the vote will open this afternoon. So I've compiled all the ones we've got so far. They're in gallery view in Airtable. I will be sharing that when I set up the influence.vote. And yeah, there's some really good ideas in there. So I'm looking forward to seeing everybody's vote. That will be open for a week. And yeah, we'll have that to discuss in the community call next week in terms of the outcome of that, who the winner was, and obviously if it's an actionable DAO, because the winner might not be a DAO that's actionable. You just don't know. If one of my ideas wins, it's probably not actionable, and I doubt my idea will win. There's better ones in there, frankly. But yeah, cool. I just wanted to make everyone aware of that. There will be weekly votes going forward, so every week we'll have a vote. Maybe there'll be more than weekly, maybe there'll be more than one. We'll have to just gauge that. I quite like the idea of having several votes a week on different things. I like the idea of voting on memes for the week. I like the idea of voting on governance stuff for the week. So something fun and something serious or something like that. I quite like the idea of that. But all to be discussed.
Sorry to hop in. Just offering another psychoanalytic view of the subject. It's a very different mechanism to have a big other or a big daddy giving awards, and it's totally different via consensus voting mechanism. So this is going to be a really fun experiment for me too to watch.
Yeah, that's it. And I think we can debate these things. We can work out a mechanism. We can do all these things.
Yeah, it's going to be different from the task and the other things, because via the task and other, it's like having a big other rewarding you. While having regular votes about even the memes, there is no big other. It's only us. It's only the community. It's going to be awesome in community building.
Yeah, I think it's going to be fun. There's lots to do, lots of ideas to talk about and stuff. Cool, we'll wrap it up there, everyone. And thanks so much for joining in. And I look forward to the conversation on this topic again. Maybe we do it here next week in the future of work. Maybe this is where we have the debate. I think that probably works, right? Actually, yeah, that's what we should do. How does that sound?
That's a good idea.
Yeah, okay, cool. Let's do that. We'll have that debate next Friday.
Yeah, 5
here.
But are we going to have a verbal debate or a written debate? Because we said about maybe a written debate, it could be healthier than a verbal debate.
I think that's separate, because just having this conversation today, it was live. People's ideas evolved as people were talking, and we were able to have a healthy conversation. I think that's really important. I feel like we could do the written debate, but I don't know if something as important and as live and as current as the airdrop is going to work in a written context. I don't know.
It's a good prep. It's a good prep for a written later, because when it's live and you hear other points of views, like you said, your
opinions evolve.
Understanding mutates.
Yeah.
So if you have a few rounds of this, then when you write, you're already taking a lot of stuff into consideration.
And I don't think it needs to be a debate in the sense of I'm representing this perspective and I'm trying to convince everyone to agree with me. I don't know. Okay, so debate is probably the wrong word. It's more a continuation of what we've done today. This to me was like an organic debate where no one was particularly fighting for a side, but they had an opinion and they expressed it, and then other people interacted with that opinion, and opinions evolved. Whereas debate, it's generally a bit more like, I'm rigid, I'm here, you're there, I'm winning, you're losing. It's zero sum. Whereas
yeah, this is why I'm right and this is why you're wrong.
This is not a zero sum conversation.
We could have an experimental debate where everybody talking should include a way of the other people's opinion into his. So nobody is allowed, or nobody should express an opinion unless it includes everybody else's opinion. Try to make a synthesized dialogue. instead of debate.
Maybe that's a
It does happen organically. Could we potentially on the table for a thread of this conversation, not a debate specifically, but if we are conversing on this over the next, let's say even just the next week, because I have random thoughts and maybe my thought on how we could make influencer a little more sound resonates. I hate using those corporate words, but resonates with Damien, and that influences his idea before our call next Friday. So is there potential for a thread or a place that we collectively can chat this up, that same style, respectfully, not emotionally? Because I think that
We just need
would
one more channel. One.
yeah.
see where it goes. Okay,
Yeah, Damien, you
I
think?
can do that. I will make, if it's allowed, I will make a thread off topic that you guys can come see.
Yeah, let's. I know Ksenia will blow her lid, but that's okay. I'll deal with Ksenia. No,
Okay, good.
no,
We
she'll
can
be
talk
fine.
about this
I'm
one
just
off
kidding.
topic.
I'm just kidding. She'll be fine. Yeah. Okay. Cool. Yeah. Let's talk about an off topic, and because I suppose we want as many people involved in the conversation. And let me think about how to format this conversation into the next step. Like, how do we include more people, and how do we open? Because obviously, small sample size today. We need to get more voices in here, but at the same time, it needs to be like the beauty of having a small sample size is that you didn't have people talking over the top of people, and we need to have that sort of setting where people can express an opinion and a thought fully. I think that's really important, that people are allowed to completely express themselves before interjections, because otherwise the meaning of what people are saying sometimes gets lost if you only hear half of what they were going to say in the first. So if we open up, when more people join in this conversation, which they will, because it's an incredibly important conversation, how do we maintain that fidelity? I'll figure that out. So let's continue the text in off topic, and I'll see you guys in the community call, or whoever's going to be there. Not you, NFTA, you're busy doing IRL.
IRL.
Yeah,
That's
I'll
that's
be
a new
off
game
as
I'm
well.
going to call it.
I'm off as well. I have another flight still to catch before I'm home.
Are you still in the States,
Okay.
are you? Okay, cool.
I'm in London. I'm in between, almost home.
Fabs, and say hi to your son for me,
Thanks, mate.
and I will catch you guys in a bit.
See you later.
Cheers.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.